dog sight. Tell them been in that living room all white. I'm up all night, season ends while niggas sleeping. Lost so many guys, guess why I'm breathing. We keep it strong as the name live on, like if they was never gone. Mind blown, and neither might ever sin.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the Grit Culture, man. Been gone for a little while, but let's get back into it, man. Let's get it back into it. Let's talk about it. So, look at this, man. Joe Biden. I thought this was a fake story. And like I said, I don't know the accuracy and how truthful this entirely is, but it's being reported around, and I saw this. But apparently the Biden administration is thinking about giving separated immigrants $450,000 in cash. $500,000 each. And whose money is this that they're using? They're using the U.S. taxpayers' money. Especially when you have people who are struggling paycheck to paycheck already here in this country right now. Millions and millions and millions of people who are struggling. And this is what you're doing with their money. Off the border policies that you guys set. Especially, and not just you guys, you particular. Biden, the Obama administration. Because it wasn't Trump. It wasn't Trump. When they were talking about kids with cages and everything, those were programs created under Obama. And border policy's always been an issue and everything, but I'm talking about particularly the cages and being separated at the border. They did that and then passed it off and was able to, because they know people don't read, they were able to, point the finger at Donald Trump. But, that's how the whole, that's how they know Democrats and Republicans, they know they can manipulate everybody through these news stories, these news outlets, through social media. They know how to, manipulate everybody into swaying into a certain direction as far as, the thinking and everything. Just lining you up, funneling you all in. But this is crazy, man. Think about all the people that haven't. Oh, man. $450,000 each because these people, they're not even mentioning the fact that these are illegal immigrants. Illegal. Now, my stance on illegal immigration and different things like that is kind of wavered. It's not as firm as it used to be, because when you get into the conversation of what's, being illegal when you're talking about land, and when I'm saying like what if they start making it illegal, like a state says it's illegal to come in here, you can't go to the next state over. Like if you over in Missouri, you want to go over to Kansas, and they put up a border and saying you're illegally crossing lines. And it's like, who gives these people the jurisdiction to do this type of things? Is that just, part of the governing bodies? But usually they make these type of decisions on their own. Now, I'm glad they've never gone that far. I'm pretty sure there's spots in the world that do that, but they've never gone that far here in America. But how far are we as people, as the public, are we going to regulate these different things? Do we even have an eye on it, right? So we're so used to everything being broken up into continents and countries and different things like that, and states, that we're so used to it. So we think of borders, but we don't even consider that, like, what is it? What is it really? Because the only thing that's really separating are, natural things like bodies of water or different things like that. But as far as in the actual, quote unquote continents themselves, they're cut by imaginary lines that, usually are bought up by people with money who gain control of these different territories and different things like that. So who's the one that does those regulations? Even the concept of a state itself, instead of it just all being one large land. So it gets complicated because, we want to be able to purchase land for ourselves, but how far could you go on that if you require a whole lot of money and different things like that? How far could you go? How far could you go with, making that happen and acquiring a large mass of land and being able to keep certain people out, keeping out whoever you want, or having different regulations on who comes in or who doesn't? It's your land, right? So these are conversations to think about. And a lot of that comes into bartering system, because the person who does try to monopolize different things like that, well, it's on the public to understand what that entails and really not engage with that person. And a lot of times, if there's no money, or if there's no, if they don't have the resources, because everybody can't do everything. So if they're not receiving the help, if they're not receiving, any incentive to have that much power, a lot of times they'll relinquish it. They'll relinquish it for something, more times than not for something in turn. So that's where the whole bartering system comes in. So these are just things to think about. But, we'll just keep it on the surface level of things. We're dealing with everything that we got right in front of us. $450,000. They haven't even paid. Hell, what about let's not even talk about slavery. Let's not even talk about reparations or anything, even though, that should be, but we're owed so much. They ain't even they can't make that happen. They'll have to print off money. And all these white allies and talking about we for black folks and they should get their due, y'all should understand what it is. First of all, not every black person here is a descendant of a slave, right? So they weren't affected by that as far as America has to do with it. Black people have been screwed over all across the world, saying in different countries, but they'd have to take that up with those personal governments. But a lot of people are immigrants. So they came here after the fact and different things like that. So you would have to narrow it down from there. Then on top of that, the money would have to come from you guys, the allies, quote unquote. If you're really down for the cause, break a brother off. Break a brother off. Now, I ain't asking for shit. I ain't asking for nothing, but I'm, you know what I'm saying. If it's really about that, you got to break off some of that money. But it's like Max Kellerman said when they were on First Take and talking about Stephen A. Max Kellerman was blacker than Stephen A. And Max Kellerman said, they invite him to the cookout. Max Kellerman was basically like, hey, that's cool and all, but I'm not willing to give up any of my privilege, right? So that's for y'all, that's for all the white allies and different things like that. But if you dump in money, if you print off money, see, that would be the way to do it. Especially if you feel guilty for everything. It's because you're white don't mean you had anything to do with it. You may have benefited, but that's how shit goes in love and war, I guess. You know what I'm saying? There's consequences to everything, right? But not every white person had everything to do with that. But if you feel guilty, drop some cash to your fellow black man, because it can't be done through it. If you want to sit up there and print out more money for reparations, all it's going to do is lead us to more issues and wonder why it's just everything's more expensive. while shit keeps skyrocketing. And it just devalues money even more. Because you want to keep, trying to pour more gasoline on the fire. That's what this system is, right? But back to this, these payments. So not only that, but what about when Biden did not even the crime bill. What about the war on drugs and everything? The war on drugs, especially all the stuff black folk been through, locking them out economically, doing all type of different things over the years. And so they take another aspect. They hit the streets to get their money, to get their income. And you start locking them up for making mutual transactions. Murder is one thing, and that should never happen. And saying, yeah, the drug game does always have a risk for, violence and everything like that. But that's just money in general. That it gets muddied up when you start to say that. But when you start to say that, and just because anything that becomes a money game. Hell, you had people getting murdered, and it doesn't happen a ton like the drug game, but like like with hair. You had people getting killed over bundles and shit, right? So what, you gonna start outlawing people selling bundles because it causes crime and different shit like that? Like, nah. It can happen with anything that becomes a hot commodity, a huge selling item that's on the street, different things like that. Just like, with think about all the people that get killed selling shit on Craigslist and different things like that. Right? You just got to deal with the bad people and get them off of the streets. But as far as drugs and everything, yeah, I don't want to see people in a zombified form and shit like that, but they make that decision on their own. It's a mutual transaction, and if you outlaw that, they've already done it. They've done it for years, but just think about everything else. Think about everything else, shit that's they deem bad for us. All the fucking bad food, all the fucking McDonald's on every damn corner. And how that's killing people. How that's, so a lot of that shit is what's helped shit. About 70 to 80% of the people who are hospitalized with COVID, they're out of shape. They were overweight, right? And we want to talk about burdens on hospitals and shit like that. These are things we don't think about. But all the families that you split apart, because that's usually what happens when people do what's deemed illegal. What the people who are in power deem illegal here in America, especially if there's kids involved. Kids get removed. So what makes crossing the border any different? Like I said, we're not going to get into whether you have the right or, the moral side of it. We're just talking about legal aspect. Like I said, I don't know if they really are planning to do this, but if they do, if this even crossed their mind, they have a lot of fucking nerve. All of the families that they've ruined, kids that have been put in foster homes and different shit like that, and group homes and shit like that, because their families got split apart, moms and dads and everything. Locking up the fathers for trying to make some money. The war on drugs. Huh? Where's their money? Where's their big payout? But, like I said, Biden already told you, he's told you who he was from the beginning. Because Donald Trump was so much of a jackass, in which he was, because he was so much of a jackass, we did the whole lesser of two evils thing. When all in all, evil is evil. Yeah, people are going to fuck up and people are going to have shortcomings, but there's we all screw up. We all make mistakes, but there's usually some type of threshold to where we really consider somebody that having evil intentions. People who break their own word, people who break their own contracts, different things like that, just lie, deceitful. Those aren't good people. And because he may lie a little bit less than the other one, like, come on. This is the system that we continue to play. And we sit up there and celebrate. Sitting up there celebrating and hallelujah, and all these motherfuckers doing Kamala Harris doing the Chucks and Pearls, the first black woman. That's all they got to do is play identity politics with y'all. Get the first black woman. Look, they've checked off two oppressed groups, right? And that'll get you on board. And you just ignore her record. Not understanding she's a part of the establishment. You know, ignore her record. She was sitting up there keeping people in jail because she was worried about the effect it would have on prison labor. There wouldn't be enough guys in there for labor, so keeping them in there past their sentences. Now, this is crazy. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section. This is all I got, man. We'll get some more stories. Get some more stories going, but yeah, this is crazy, man. Open your eyes to all of this shit. Like I said, you already had Biden. Biden's been screwing up. You already have him. He's fucking over the small man. Was that whole tax plan where they trying to recover missing taxes? They already stealing so much from everybody, but they're recovering, trying to recover missing taxes. So they want to, put eyes on, it used to be 10,000 in the bank. Whenever it hits 10,000, now they're trying to make it 600, right? So the people who are trying to, make money on the side and different things like that. That's crazy, man. But this is what we asked for. Hey, this is what we ask for when we keep playing this game, when we keep playing this politic game and thinking one side is going to change anything. It's all an illusion. Let me know what you think. Hit the like, share, subscribe, and I will be back.